for your offense and for this team to play here at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic against the quality Tulane team?
Well, first of all, it's great to be here. Our team's excited to be here. The practices this week have been spirited. We understand the Cotton Bowl and what this means and the tradition of it and the prestigious award that it is to get to come compete in this game. And so we've got a great opponent on the other side. Went to Cincinnati and won. Went to Kansas State and won. They're a very good football team. So our guys are excited to play in the game. We're going to prepare hard, prepare well, and hopefully go try to find victory.
Coach Simmons, the opportunity to play one more time, to get back out, a lot of success this year for USC. What would it mean to the ball club to come out with a win on January 2nd?
We talk about a lot how we want to be remembered, and I think this would, to be able to go out and finish the season the way we started off would be, not just a great momentum for this team, but it'll be a great momentum moving forward as we progress at our time at USC.
Thank you, coaches. If you have a question, we'll get a microphone to you. Please give your name and affiliation, and we'll start right up here in the front row.
Ryan Carchi, LA Times. Josh, obviously you're not going to have Brett Nealon or Andrew Voorhees for this game. You'll get a chance to see some of those younger guys. How do you feel just generally about the state of that group, knowing that two guys who have been real staples of that line now will move on to the next level?
Yeah, for sure. Injuries happen in this game, and you can always say next man up and move on and act like it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. It always is, because there's a hole that has to be filled, and Nealon and Voorhees did an absolutely tremendous job for us this year, and they were solid as you could be, and in fact, a lot of times more than solid. They were very effective and very productive. And so with the next crew coming in, it's an opportunity for those guys to come in and show what they got. And every day I feel a little better. Every day they get a little better. They're working hard. They're coming out and they're executing their assignments better. So each day that we go and each day we practice, it gets a little bit closer to being what we need to get on the field and do our job the way we need to do it.
I know you guys are used to kind of rebuilding positions now over the course of an offseason with the transfer portal, but when you enter this offseason, how do you feel just generally about depth and just how much change will have to take place up front?
Yeah, I haven't given it. I've given it some thought. Obviously, you're always looking ahead to the future. I think the biggest thing that we can take out of this time at the Cotton Bowl is just the improvement that the guys that maybe wouldn't have got these amount of reps, this amount of opportunity to improve, that they get a chance to improve that way. So obviously there'll be new faces coming in the spring, and we'll see how they fit in. But it's a head start for the guys that are out there on the field practicing right now, and as we look to next year and to go to try to do what we want to do next year, these guys get an opportunity to improve and become possibly the starters of that position.
We'll go right up here to Ryan.
Ryan Young, Trojansports.com. Josh, building off that, you signed 5 freshmen. You're obviously active in the transfer portal. It's our first chance to ask you about those guys. Can you talk about the incoming class you have and what you feel you brought in there?
Well, number one, I think we brought in size, but I think with that size, we brought in athleticism. I think we brought in 5 guys that love to play football. They're very intelligent. They're all really good young men from very good families, from good programs. When you turn their film on, you not only see high level athleticism for their size, but you also see strain and finish and guys that love to play the game. And that's the main thing you got to have. But they're true freshmen. We'll see where they're at. I think I was counting up the other day, in 22 years, I think I've seen 6 start as true freshmen, and 2 or 3 of those are because we had injuries. But so it's always tough to do in an offensive line. You got to make contact with somebody every play. But we'll see where they're at. But I feel really good about this crew. I think in the long run they're going to end up being very productive, and we're going to really look back and think that this was a heck of a class.
We'll go on the other side in the front row.
We'll do 3 Ryans in a row. Ryan Abraham, USCFootball.com. Josh, for you first, Cortland Ford, we got to see him start at the beginning of the season, just haven't seen much of him lately. Can you give an update on his status?
Yeah, I think you'll see a lot of him in the Cotton Bowl. Cortland's doing very well. He kind of went through a little spell. He was injured the first year. Lost lost his job, Bobby, and was playing better. Then Mason Murphy really came on and was playing well through the middle of the season. Went through a little spell where he just wasn't playing as good, but kind of toward the end of the season started playing a lot better and becoming a lot more consistent, and kind of looked like the old Cortland that kind of went through spring ball and went and kind of the beginning of the season. So I'm excited about where he's at. I'm excited about watching him play in this game. I think he's excited to play, and I think he's been hungry to get back out there on the field. And he fought through it. You know, to his credit, he didn't give up. He could have just kind of cashed it in and said, "Oh man," you know, and not continue to improve and got better. But he kept fighting, and really we were at the latter part of the season, kind of through the UCLA. Notre Dame game weeks when you really started to see him come back on and practice and start to play well. So this is going to be a great opportunity for him to get out there and show what he can do.
And then, Dennis, the wide receiver room, you lost your best couple of receivers at times this season, but other guys have stepped up. We haven't got to talk to you since the end of camp. How have you assessed how the wide receivers done this year?
I mean, I think they've gone out and competed. And I think it's a room that these guys enjoy, not just playing the game, but enjoy playing with each other and for one another. And, like you mentioned, when one guy wasn't available to play, all of those guys have worked hard every day to be able to step up and maximize their opportunities. And I feel like when they've been given to them, they've done just that. So, like Coach Henson said, we're a football team that still feel like we got a lot to prove, and come game day, we'll have our chance to go out and do so.
Down here to Adam.
Adam Grossbart, Orange County Register. Josh, as someone who hadn't been on staff with Lincoln before, what stood out to you this year about the way he prepares and game plans for an opponent?
Man, attention to detail. Just his ability to intake information and remember it, kind of photographic memory is outstanding. It's elite. But, man, he goes through every single play. He watches every play. We watch more of the opponent than any place I've ever been. And, man, he sifts through that information, and he's just attention to detail. And that's why he's so good at what he does. He is looking for and going to find where our best matchups are to put our guys in position to make plays. And that's what's been impressive about him to me this season. I mean, he grinds through it, and it's been really impressive to watch.
Okay, we'll go back over to the other side on the end.
Ava Brand here with Goodyear. Coach Riley mentioned the other day how with the past month off, not having to face an opponent each weekend, you guys have been able to focus more so on yourself and practice on what you think you need to practice on. What does that include for the wide receivers and the offense as a whole?
You want to start or you want me to start?
She said wide receivers.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a lot of technical things that we could still have. If we had more time, we could work on to get better at, vertical routes, holding our squeeze, making it more space availability for the quarterback, hand placement, and understanding when to get open at the right times, alignments, a lot of the small little intricate parts that don't necessarily show up on a stat sheet, but definitely is vitally important for you to execute your assignment on any individual play.
Coach Henson, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I think offensively something that Coach Riley talked about, during the middle of the season, game 6, 7, somewhere in that space of time was, he really wanted to implore the staff to be developing every guy in the room, not just your starters, not just trying to get the starters ready to play, and to keep working on the details with every single player on our team. And, so here we are in the offensive line. We'll see if we did that very well. But we're going to get that opportunity to see if that work through the middle of the season is going to translate here in the bowl game.
Back up here in front.
Ryan Carchi, LA Times. Josh, speaking of development, what have you seen just in general out of Mason Murphy from start of the season to maybe now?
Well, I can tell you this. There was a time Mason's very talented. He's very gifted, number one. And there was a time when I thought maybe he was the best pass protection tackle on our roster at times, different points this season. the biggest thing with Mason is just when he is focused and he is on, he is elite. He is really, really good. But just being consistent and that focus, consistent in his approach and how he does things is where he needs to continue to improve. And he would tell you that. He knows that. But just development, there's always a big jump in knowledge and kind of anticipating what you're going to get from a defense. And then with him, just technique-wise and a lot of things as pass sets and run game, he's continuing to get better at. But he goes out and works hard every day. And I think, in this offseason, for him to really reach a level where he can be super consistent this offseason, a big part of his game is going to be development in the weight room too, strength and conditioning.
We have time for a couple more. We'll start over here in front of me.
Dennis, Joseph Hoyt, Dallas Morning News. I feel like calling defenses drop 8 defenses is almost a little cliche these days. But Tulane's obviously been pretty stout on pass defense. What have you seen from their pass defense and their ability to tackle?
Well, they're very good in the open field tackle and one-on-one tackling in the open field. They're pretty savvy at that. Their DBs are pretty aggressive at using their hands at the top of your routes to help prevent you from getting separation. So those have been some things that we've had to fine tune and work on to be able to be successful in this game. But their safeties are, very aggressive and come down and hit, and their corners understand. They've played a lot of ball. You can see that on film. They understand what their deficiencies are and understand their defense. So you're not going to get a whole bunch of blown and busted coverages on the back end. They're pretty smart and savvy in that aspect.
We'll take one final one across the way in the front row.
For Josh, I guess following up on that, what have you seen from Tulane's the front seven from Tulane? How you guys match up with them?
Yeah, linebackers are very instinctive. They do a great job of hat and hands fitting up linemen coming out to block them and shedding off blocks and making tackles in the hole. They're really good at playing close to offensive linemen. Defensive line-wise, they play hard and they play violent, and they're going to play through the middle of you. They're a two-gap kind of read team. They're going to put hands on you. And when they do, they that's our challenge, is to not let them play in both gaps. Whatever their gap they're in, we've got to fit, drive, control, and keep them where they're playing at, and not let them play out of one gap, play into another, and obviously junk up our run game. So from a pass protection standpoint, they do a nice job rushing the passer. They're pretty physical pass rushers. They'll take number one, their linebacker, and get him down on the edge on third downs, and he's a speed guy and has done a good job for him this year. So certainly a challenge. You look at these guys, and size-wise too, they're right there with all the teams that we've been playing this year. So there's not a lot of deficiencies in these guys in our front seven, how they play. It's going to be a great challenge for us.
All right, Coach Henson, Coach Simmons, thank you for your time. For
you.
those that want the offensive breakouts, we're going to go right over here to the right, and the players will be at various stations within.